Hi. Well, this is a bit of a funny title and one that you wouldn't really expect from me, right? So just to give you a bit of backstory, I had all of these issues growing up and I dealt with them to the point where they don't affect me so much now. I want to put my sunglasses on. I had my eyes dilated. I just want someone to give me an indication that they can hear me, but I've got no one watching just yet. I am outside, I am passing the RAF, so my reception might go down a little bit. And I'm walking home after my eye test appointment, so there might be a little bit of traffic noise, but we will go off onto a quiet road very, very soon, and I might sound out of breath. Okay, so there was a time when I couldn't look people in the eye. I would look down. I just couldn't look at people in the eye, and I had issues with speaking to people. So I wouldn't speak unless I was spoken to, and there were one-word answers. I couldn't strike up conversations with people, and this would have been from when I was about 7 or 8 to about I think I was about 19, 20 when I finally came out of my shell. So it affected me for a really long time. I had no confidence to pick up a phone and phone somebody, let alone making a live video on YouTube, like come on. And then I had issues going out in public, and that has lasted actually. I still can be quite reluctant to go out, quite recluse, and not wanting to go out, not needing to go out. I can be at home for 10 days and just be in my garden and I've been out. I'm still like that. I really love the comfort of my home. But when I did go out, up until I was about 16, 17, I used to run from place to place. I didn't want to stop to talk to people. I didn't want people to look at me and see me. And I had body confidence issues. I felt that my boobs were too big. I didn't like my teeth. I've had my teeth straightened twice. And actually that was one of the things that I thought people would be mean to me about on YouTube. Actually, people are not mean to me at all on YouTube, but I thought the one thing people would say to me was about my nose. But actually, my nose doesn't bother me at all, the size of my nose. It's my teeth that bother me. I had them straightened when I was 32, and I'm ready to have them straightened again. I've got really small arches, which means that my teeth here come out. Well, what that meant for me was that I would talk to people like this, and I would look people in the eye, which I can do now, but I noticed me doing this again, and that made me realise that I've lost that confidence in the way I speak to people and look at people, and it's that I really just hate this. And beauty for me, being in the beauty industry, growing up reading the covers of Vogue and Cosmopolitan all the time, for me, the perfect facial features was always going to be very heavy on my mind, and it's very shallow now. I'm so sorry. It's very shallow of me to think that way, especially now in my 40s. I've got over it as such, but that thing has come back, and I noticed me doing that the other day, and then somebody asked me about low self-esteem and anxiety, and I thought I'll make this video. So how I got over it was the telephone thing. I remember my best friend saying to me is, if you have issues with speaking to somebody on the phone, just make sure you sort of rehearse what you're going to say first, and remember that the other person on the other end of the phone doesn't know who you are. And I remember my best friend at the time, Nina, telling me that. She was like, what's the problem, Nisha? They don't know you. They don't know what you look like. They've never seen you. You just ring up and ask what the question that's in your head. And I noticed my daughter had the same issue as well. So I imparted that same advice to her, and she is now very, very confident on the telephone, and same in dealing with emails and stuff. How I started looking people in the eye when I'm talking to them now is I just did it. I just looked at them. I just looked at them in the eye and started talking. Practice on maybe family, maybe friends, and then just started doing it. I'm going to go off on the side road soon. I don't know like how I was able to stop running, I guess it was having confidence in myself that came with being 16 and having boys interested in me. And I think me being short was it was a really big thing as well, and I thought the boys wouldn't want to go out with me because I'm too short. I'm not even 5 foot. That wasn't a problem. I had a very tall ex-boyfriend and Abdul's like 5'9", so that's fine. But it's just so shallow of me to look back and think that that's how I felt. I feel like I was so shallow because there's so much more to life. And actually having conversations with people is one of life's gifts. And to be able to sort of make that connection with someone and speak to someone is really amazing. And I used to constantly have a face that was quite, unapproachable. I didn't want to be approached. I gave off all the vibes of don't talk to me, I don't want to speak to you. And now, I just smile at people, and that's enough. Make eye contact, and that's enough for someone to say hello. And I remember it was snowing at work. I was at work, it was snowing. I didn't know, and I walked out at the end of the day, and I literally had one of these Bollywood or Hollywood moments where I walked out, saw the snow coming down. I had the most hugest grin on my face, and I had my arms out to embrace the snow, and it was so instinctive and so natural. And I had my arms out and I was laughing. I was really, really laughing. And this guy just came across and saw my reaction, and he just put his arms out as well and started laughing, and I thought that was really, really cute. And I just wouldn't have had the confidence to do something like that before. Things like Navratri, I used to dance, but I used to look all around, and I'd go away if there were too many people around. And it's just so odd having that self-esteem issue when you guys know me as quite chatty, making videos. And when I tell people I had these issues, they can't relate because they don't know that I'm that kind of person, but I was. I don't think I am now. And if you have any questions about it, I just wanted to let you know that they affect me too. I have all these issues too, and I've dealt with them, and you can too if you suffer from low self-esteem. And I had all the same problems that you guys had: men problems, being bullied. Didn't have a great childhood. It's all in the past. I don't bring that forward to my life now, and I try not to carry that weight with me, because I've made a new life for myself, which started when I moved out of my parents' home. I had this few years of healing in my own place. I had a mortgage when I was 21 years old, luckily enough. I know that's very difficult to do in this day and age. But having your own space to learn who you are is so important, because I grew up thinking the way my parents think, which is quite negatively. And you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't be like this, you must behave like this, you must think like this, you must dress like this, you must talk like this, and I just felt so stifled, and that's why I had such a horrible childhood, because I rebelled against all of that, and it made me miserable. And unfortunately, I didn't always want to live. I wish the ground would swallow me up, and I spent a lot of my time in my bedroom when I was at home. Love my parents to bits. It's just I was the eldest, and in a changing world, it was difficult. Things are not like that now. And this isn't to be negative against my parents at all. It's just my experience. And for everyone going through that now as a child, as a teen, it does get better. And when I moved out of my parents' house, I learned what I liked. I learned what kind of foods I want to eat. I was able to eat the foods that I want to eat, and not shakanutli all the time. And I was able to dress the way I want. I always thought, until very recently, I've dressed very conservatively. Now I don't care, I just dress how I want. And I was always even up until recently, if I did this, what would my parents think? I don't anymore. And I still get criticisms over the way I allow Maya to dress, for example, from elders. But as long as I don't care, as long as I'm happy, then I don't see how others should influence that. So there's all these other outside influences that kind of affected me rather than it coming from within me. Does that make sense? And I allowed them to affect me to a point where I couldn't go from here to down the road without running. I didn't want to stop. Can you imagine that with me, just being that person, not being able to speak to somebody, not being able to look someone in the eye, dilated or not, but hey. And I wonder what your experiences are. I was asked to make a video on this. I don't really know like what you'd like me to address or how I dealt with it. I think I only dealt with it by moving out and discovering who I was and what I liked, and that took another maybe 7 to 10 years. It's a very long process. Didn't do any self-help books, didn't do any counselling, didn't do any speaking with people. I just learned to be in the moment and to live in the present and to appreciate and be thankful for what I have and the life that I have, and not blaming other people for misery. And that if I felt miserable, that I knew it was within me to make that change. And the first step was for me to remove myself from the place that was making me unhappy. And when I did that, my life changed for the better. It's not perfect now. Finances is always a big thing for us, but other than that, everything else is pretty perfect. So I hope that was useful to you. Please do. Plane. I live near an airbase. Yeah, but please do let me know if you have any questions. I haven't had any so far, I have just checked. But if you do have any questions for me, let me know. And I'll catch you all soon. Bye. Now, how do I end this thing?